So the other day, I lit $20,000 on fire. No, it didn't go down like that, but it sure felt like it. So the story is, earlier this year, I hired a consultant to help me fix a big problem in my business. Now, the guy I hired was someone I'd known for years, someone that I felt was aligned with my values, I'd met in person, and to be straight up, I just considered a friend. And of course, most importantly, he appeared to be an expert in solving problems just like mine. So he sent me a proposal, everything looked good, and we got started. Now, the first month of us working together, things were good. He brought energy to the meetings and was focused in on our biggest problem. In fact, we made a lot of steps towards solving it. Unfortunately, a month or two, progress seemed to stall. I'm a metrics-driven guy. I believe what's measured can be improved. Yet despite asking for key performance indicators multiple times, I couldn't get any. It seemed like there was a lot of talk, but little progress. Now, I'm a patient, trusting guy who believes in clear communication, but I was pretty clear as to what these problems were and that we needed to solve them ASAP. But the reality is, by the end of month 3, I could see that change wasn't going to happen. So I decided to wrap things up, pay for the last month of service, and give him his 30 days notice. And that is when things got worse. Unfortunately, I don't think he took this too well. Within days, I received a response telling me that the reason the engagement didn't work out is because what I wanted was all over the place. Simply put, it was my fault that he had failed. And that final payment for the last 30 days, which I had paid in advance, that's a disconnection fee for him pulling out of our company. Now, gents, I don't normally lose my cool, but the tone, the way these messages were sent to me, and this disconnection fee, I was pissed off. I felt stupid. I felt betrayed. I felt taken advantage of. I had literally spent enough money to buy a car and I had nothing to show for it. In fact, I had wasted months of my own time and the time of my team. So what should I do? I had a lot of ideas running through my head. Reach out to my credit card company and dispute the charges. Call my lawyer. Take him to small claims court. Call up an old sniper butt. No, gents, I didn't do any of that. Instead, I asked myself a simple 7-word question. Now, gentlemen, what I love about the technique that I'm about to share with you is, number 1, it's incredibly simple, and number 2, it's been around for over 2,500 years. Seriously, the 7 words I'm going to share with you can be traced back to mindfulness, which goes back to Buddhism, which is over 2,500 years old. And in case you're not familiar, mindfulness is the practice of maintaining a non-judgmental state of heightened or complete awareness of one's thoughts, emotions, or experiences on a moment-to-moment basis. These 7 words also have a foundation in Socratic questioning. The Socratic method is a form of systematic inquiry used to stimulate critical thinking and to expose the contradictions in one's beliefs. Socrates loved talking to people who thought they were really smart, and he would just simply ask deep, thought-provoking questions about a belief or assumption, and then we would come to find out that this person knew a lot less than they thought they did. On top of that, what I also like about these 7 words is they pull from Stoic philosophy, about 3rd century BC. Now, Stoicism as a way of thinking has really had a resurgence in the last few years thanks to guys like Ryan Holiday. But in case you're not familiar with it, it's a philosophy that teaches that we don't have control over and cannot rely on external events, that we can only control ourselves and our responses. Stoics believe that by focusing on personal virtues and acceptance, we can then strive for internal peace and acceptance. And as that we're talking about Stoicism, it's worth talking about cognitive behavioral therapy. CBT was developed in the 1960s by Dr. Aaron T. Beck, who borrowed heavily from the Stoics. But basically his big point is that people are disturbed not by events, but their interpretation of them. So enough dragging this video out. What are the 7 words? What advice would my future self give? Now, before I talk about why these words are so powerful, I want to talk about the technique of self-distancing. Human beings, at times, can be incredibly intelligent and give solid advice, especially when they are removed from the situation and they're giving it to someone else. However, there's a problem with this, a glitch in the system when we try to give advice to ourselves. When we try to do this, when we try to make a decision for ourselves, our brain has trouble separating logic from emotion. Now, the studies on this stuff are really interesting because not only is it clear that self-distancing actually works, but they actually measured the activity in the brain, and that whenever you go through this process, the activity of the self is less activated. So you are clearly actually looking at this, detaching the emotion, and you're looking at things more objectively simply by going through the technique of removing yourself by asking the question, by stating the phrase, by thinking about things from an outsider's perspective. Now, for self-distancing to work, you have to be able to remove yourself from the emotional intensity of the present situation. I found for me, giving myself a bit of time between the situation, I didn't react immediately, and then asking that question again and again, what advice would my future self give, enabled me to be able to create a bit of a psychological distance. On top of that, what I love about this question in particular is I am asking advice of the person I trust most. Now, this is key because unless you're bipolar or have multiple personalities, the majority of us, we trust ourselves more than any other person in the world. Now, a big part for me is probably ego, but no, the reality is we know ourselves better than anyone else. And if I could go a year into the future and talk to a smarter, more emotionally removed, perhaps even wiser Antonio, why wouldn't I take his advice? Because this guy knows all my secrets. He knows all my insecurities, all my fears, all my hopes, all my dreams. And the advice he would give me would for sure be aligned with my best interests because they're his best interests. So when I asked myself this question, there were other questions that actually popped up. I mean, what are the potential consequences? If I go on the offensive, if I attack, what happens? People defend themselves. People usually have a reason for taking their actions. And I don't know what's going on in this other guy's life, but do I want to start a fight? And the answer was no. Next up, what are the facts? Now, the reality is I am still a bit emotionally compromised about this, and I'm viewing it from my perspective, but I did ask everyone on my team to lay out what did they learn, what did they pick up. The reality was it wasn't a complete loss. We actually moved over to a new system. We brought in a few things and made a few adjustments, got some introductions. Was it worth the amount I spent? Not in my opinion, but the fact is we actually did get some value from the engagement. The next question I asked myself, what's the bigger issue here? Am I afraid of something? Why am I reacting in this way? And this one was a big one because I realized the reason I felt stupid is I had actually put together a system for hiring people. And I did not follow that system when I made the hire. I didn't follow up with references. I didn't actually compare him to everyone else I was looking at. I made the decision really quick. And the reason I felt stupid is because I had really made a lot of mistakes on my own part. In addition, I had spent more money than I should have. Instead of spending money I'd already budgeted, I actually put this on a credit card, so I took a risk here. And that's what was painful. I had gambled and I had lost. So what actions did I take? One, I just professionally ended the engagement. Next up, I shared my frustrations with 3 of my closest business friends. I probably spent an hour on the phone with each, going through the story and just getting their feedback. And, it was more, they're on my side. They definitely like, yeah, man, this, but it's great to know that you got people in your corner. Third, I took and I take full responsibility because I'm a big believer, and I've talked about it on this channel before, whenever you take responsibility, you take back the power to make change, to improve yourself. Next up, I explained the situation to my team. We made the adjustments and we started to move on, which led me to the 5th action. We made immediate improvements over the last month on the channel, and I did find a way to be able to get my money's worth. Sort of. Now, gents, for some reason, if you were let down by those 7 words, you're like, come on, Antonio, give me something better. I created some alternative questions for you. What advice would I give a friend in this situation? What would the wisest person I know do? How would I handle this if money wasn't a factor? What decision will make the best story for my grandchildren? If I was at my best, what would I do? What choice aligns with my core values? In fact, that leads me to an even bigger question. Do you know what your core values are? Mine? Honor, courage, and commitment. Gents, have you checked out what we're doing over at Mission Fragrances? Guys, over at Mission Fragrances, we're leveraging the science of scent to help you improve your state of mind and become the man you know yourself to be. If you're tired of being ignored, if you want to build confidence, if you want to get noticed, well, gents, you need to work on your inner game, and that's what this set of fragrances helps you do. To learn more, go to missionfragrances.com or use that link in the description of today's video. All you have to do is enter your email and you'll be notified the next time we launch. So what video to watch next? Let's talk about loneliness. In fact, I share a lot of my stories dealing with loneliness, and I think that's an important video, guys. You want to check it out. Boom, right here. Loneliness and what's going on with guys in today's modern world.